Hi, I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
And this is Northwest Brew Talk. Welcome to Northwest Brew Talk, the #1 podcast on Northwest beer, brought to you by Micro Homebrew, located in Kenmore, Washington. This is episode number 87. Each and every week, we promote the Northwest brewing industry by talking to those people involved and drinking their beer. If you like craft beer, learn about the people behind it here on our show. This week on the Micro Homebrew interview, we talk with No-Li Brewhouse. We also have our brew news and views and music from Great Spiders.
If you're new to the show, we suggest you check out our back catalog with some great interviews and lots of beer. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to shoot us an email to nwbrewtalk@gmail.com. We're on Twitter at nwbrewtalk and on Facebook at facebook.com/nwbrewtalk. If you like the show and want to support us, share our link and tell your friends on social media. To start the show, let's open up our first beer. We get to thank North Jetty for this beer tonight. They are located in Seaview, and children are welcome in their brewery until 6 p.m. We're drinking their Leadbetter Red Scottish Ale, malt-forward red ale with roasted and caramel flavors, slightly drier than a traditional Scottish ale and very drinkable. 4.8% ABV, 23 IBUs, and an untapped rating of 3.69.
All right, both of our beers tonight are in the red category. This is red, but it's a Scottish ale, which is a little different.
Yep, and this was named Leadbetter after Leadbetter State Park at the tip of Long Island Beach Peninsula.
Okay. All right, I would have thought it was named after the Pearl Jam song, but maybe the Pearl Jam song was named after that.
Maybe.
So who knows?
Who knows?
All right, so it is definitely a red. Got a nice head on it,
Nice.
Creamy head.
A little cloudy.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Very malty flavor. Wow.
Yeah, definitely a red.
Can taste that caramel, too.
Mm-hmm. Is that what they said is in there? Or caramel flavors?
Caramel. Yep. Roasted and caramel flavors.
So, yeah.
Smells good. I like it. Thumbs up.
Yeah. I mean, not my favorite type of beer. I don't know. It's not bad, though.
I like it.
No, it's good. I'll give it a thumbs up.
I already gave it my thumbs up.
You never said it, though.
Yes, I did.
When?
A minute ago.
Oh, during a different episode of the show?
No, I'm pretty sure I said thumbs up.
Okay, awesome. Awesome, all right. We're going to go right on to this week's Brew News and Views. Start out with a story here from livescience.com. Why hoppy beer may be better for your liver.
This is a pretty interesting study here. Hops found in beer not only add flavor, but also lessen the damaging effects of alcohol on the liver.
Okay, now that's what they believe. This was done
on mice.
Yes, this was done on over the short term. They found in mice, and it was done at Friedrich Schiller University
in Germany.
And they wrote the study that it was in the journal Alcohol and Alcoholism. So obviously they were looking for some type of connection between alcoholism and whether hoppy beers have some different effect.
And the three different study groups were one drinking or given regular beer with hops, which they said later in the article was a Pilsner, German Pilsner, a special beer without hops, and then plain ethanol for the third group, alcohol. And then after 12 hours, there was less buildup of fat in the livers of the mice that were given the beer with hops. Right,
than the ones that were given just straight up alcohol, ethanol.
Or the beer without hops.
Right, and that was one of the big things they were trying to point out, that they said later on that it's possible that people who drink spirits are more likely to be heavy drinkers, and that's why they would develop liver disease.
Right.
And they said that that's a lot of times why, it used to be, and still generally people would think that, if you're a hard liquor drinker, then you're more prone to getting, alcoholism and, liver problems and things like that.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was pretty interesting, and especially since new studies suggest that hops may lower the formulation of compounds called reactive oxygen species, which are highly reactive and can cause damage to cells in the liver. Future studies are needed to see if the same effects are found in people, though, and if these effects last for long periods, because they said it was only short-term effect in the mice, so they'd have to find out if it was long-term or not.
The other thing that I thought was interesting was that the study got their funding from the German brewing industry.
Oh, well, I wonder why.
Yeah.
I wonder why. And that's, I've heard some things lately, they're trying to crack down on that in drug studies in this country, because a lot of times doctors that are involved in studies could be receiving funding, or could be kickbacks, but funding from drug companies. So obviously they're looking for a specific outcome. Well,
and we've seen other studies that come back and years later, after everything's been spread and all these people believe what the studies have shown, to say, oh, well,
Yep, that the whole thing was a lie.
This is what I wanted to prove, so I said that's what it proved, even though it didn't prove that.
Right. Exactly. So, interesting study. And the other thing is they said it's also possible that something about beer, like the ingredient hops, is protective against liver damage. So
good news for hopheads out there.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd be one of those. All right, next story. A big story. Last week, Stone Brewing out of California announced that they were laying off people. Actually, a word came out from employees first before Stone released anything. Yeah, this came from probably from an employee, and what happened was a bunch of posts and emails started coming in, and this was to who was getting Draft Magazine was getting these, among other places probably, and they said that there's let's see. Well, it said that one of the people, including a longtime receptionist, said that today, along with dozens of others, I was laid off from Stone Brewing. Although it will be challenging transition after 7 years with a legendary brewery, I know new opportunities lay ahead. So, I mean, there's a lot of things going on. So they were looking for a statement from Stone, and finally Stone came out with something. And what did they say?
Well, and as most of us know, they're the 9th largest craft brewery in the U.S., more than 325,000 barrels of beer last year.
That's a lot.
Expanding at a rapid rate. They are they opened production facilities in Berlin in mid-September and Richmond, Virginia in March, and a location in Napa, California. So,
the one in California is going to include a hotel too.
Yeah, so I mean they're big. They're big. So I mean, just reading it, I wasn't surprised really to hear.
Well, yeah,
because it just sounds like big business.
It does. And so what they said in a statement was, due to an unforeseen slowdown in our consistent growth and changes in the craft beer landscape, we have had to make the difficult decision to restructure our staff. Unfortunately, this comes despite a year that includes incredible accomplishments. More recently, however, the large independent craft segment has developed tremendous pressure, specifically the onset of greater pressures from big beer as a result of their acquisition strategies.
So they're blaming mega beer, in other words.
And the further proliferation of small, hyper-local breweries has slowed growth, which is exactly what we've talked about before. We've talked about a lot of those small, local tavern/breweries. They're the local place that people can go to hang out and get fresh beer. Those are probably going to be the ones that have the greatest chance of succeeding.
Yeah, I agree.
Although somebody as big as Stone with several plants should be able to do that also.
They talk about in their statement, though, they talked about the small guys taking up shelf space, and I mean it's kind of silly. I think, because the small guys really, I mean, yes, I understand there's a lot more of them and they're going to take up more shelf space, but the shelf space is so limited as it is. Yeah. Somebody who's a big company is going to have a lot more
shelf space.
Yeah, they're going to have more opportunity to, that's not the word I was looking for, but they're going to have the opportunity more than exactly. Your neighborhood brewery.
Well, they have a better chance, somebody with a name too, like Stone, is gonna. You see them in the store here.
They have more money. They have more power,
and they've been around for 20 years.
Well, absolutely.
So that gives them an advantage too. Approximately 5% of all team members were affected, and they were offered substantial notice period and a career transition services,
which is nice. That's
now
nice.
The interesting thing though was the comments actually.
Yeah, this was my favorite part of the article, was reading the comments.
Yeah,
it kind of gives you a little bit of an inside look. For some of them, one comment from a former employee who says that they don't treat their employees very well.
Yeah, and another thing, there's several different things that could be happening here, and we'll find out. One of them said it's a typical pre-acquisition strategy. And in fact, Jeff here, he says, if Ron in 6 to 9 months, I will drink Budweiser. So he believes strongly that this is what's going to happen. Now, they already, I didn't know, I don't recall, but apparently they have already had some equity ownership. So they're not entirely owned by Greg Koch or Cook anymore anyhow. Cause
they do talk about, they stress a lot about their independence. And when you've gotten to the point that you have to let go employees that have been with you for as many years as they were letting go, it's not really about your independence anymore. There's something else going on there. Just reading the article before I even got to the comments, my first thought was they're preparing for a buyout, which the owner has said he would never sell out.
Right.
And that's fine. But that's the first thing that went to my head. So I wasn't surprised to read these comments from other people saying the same thing.
Yeah, George, one of the comment writers, said that this restructuring is about years and years of Stone's careless hiring, an unfocused and seemingly random game plan, and a blatant disregard for employees' satisfaction and well-being. I speak for the vast majority of Stone expats when I say that the employees at Stone were never a top priority for the company.
Which is sad. That's really sad.
Right. Now, that's something that obviously small businesses, small breweries, that's something that, they deal with all the time, and that's the whole thing with, minimum wage and all those things. You're a small company, how much do you pay employees?
Right.
Are you able to give them benefits?
Right.
It's tough when you're a small company. Well, Stone's been around for 20 years.
Right.
If they laid off 5% of their staff, and that was 50 to 75 employees,
exactly,
they have a big brewery. They should be able to be paying decent wages and stuff.
Yep.
And this George goes on to say that I've watched as Stone has quietly transitioned from a company whose bottom line is focused strictly on the quality of their products to a company's bottom line is focused strictly on the amount of money coming through the door at the end of the day. And we've said this many times. It's a business. We understand that. We get it.
Yeah.
And, and a lot of the commenters on this also said that they get it. It's a business. That doesn't mean that if they sell out, though, they're going to support them anymore. He said when a craft company becomes about the money, they may as well not even bother to call themselves craft anymore. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Also, another commenter, I don't know, he's got a funky name, Stufenrocker, Stu Effin Rocker, maybe it is. But he said at the end of the day, it is a business where owners rely on that business to support their family and themselves. Stone caused part of the bleeding for themselves. However, at the end of the day, craft beer is a business. And, we can't deny that. It's a business, and people need to make money. Otherwise, it's not worth doing.
Yeah, and, we've said on the show before, we're not going to say somebody is, wrong for selling out. It's just, that's not where our money goes to support. And, if you like Stone's beer, then you're going to continue to support them, maybe no matter who they belong to.
There are still, the other big one in Washington that sold out the ABI. They still have fans.
Yeah, they do, absolutely.
They still have a lot of fans. And, I think the real craft beer drinkers, especially after Dick Cantwell left, I think they probably abandoned them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But
I'm sure they took a little hit. But
they had to have.
Yeah.
They had to have. George also posted again. He said, hell, I worked there for 2 years and went through 4 bosses.
That's a lot.
Sure, at the end of the day, this brewery is just a business, but it's also a craft business vastly out of touch with the world that it helped create 20 years ago.
Which is crazy, but, they don't sound like your typical people. They don't sound like that typical craft community.
No. And, we've talked about this privately before, but most of the people we've met and we've interviewed have been, great people to talk to and stuff. But I'm guessing that some of the people that we've talked to are people that, they're talking to us because we're media.
Right.
So they were nice to us and they were cool with us. But I'm guessing they're not all, maybe they're not.
I don't know. I think you can kind of get the vibe. I think you can kind of get the vibe of somebody who's being just fake nice because you're media or whatever the case may be. You don't think you can get that vibe, huh?
I think sometimes, but I think some of them. We've interviewed almost 100 people.
You think that's you think there's too many nice people? You think?
Yeah, I don't think that they're all that nice.
But out of the 100, we've met a handful that have been, not the nicest people, and not like in your face nasty, but just not real warm, not real.
Exactly.
I don't think that you can fake some of the niceness that we've seen in the community. I really don't think you can.
I think part of it is they love their business, and it's easy to talk about something that you love. That doesn't mean that they're...
It's not even just talking about it. I mean, when they're passionate about it, it makes some awesome interviews, and we've loved that. But, I mean, they go above and beyond talking and giving us samples and, giving us pints. And hell, we got T-shirts and stuff from Salish Sea. And so I think that some of them are just... I think that most of them, a majority of them, and anytime you talk to people, this is the same reaction that you get, that this community is just a different community than any other business out there.
And maybe our state is different too. Maybe we're just a little different when it comes to that. Because when we went back to Buffalo and talked to our friend Ethan from Community Beer Works, we asked him about that specifically, and we said, is the community the same like that? And it's a lot smaller in New York. It's growing, but in the Western New York area, it's growing still, but it's not anywhere like a Seattle or even Whatcom County.
There's like a dozen, less than
most,
a dozen.
Yes.
So
and
really
he said it is.
But he talks about
though.
That he needed to borrow a forklift from the guy, and he's 2 blocks down, so he borrows a forklift from him. And I mean, I think that has supermarkets don't do that kind of thing. I don't know. It's tough to. I would like to think that there's more businesses out there like that, but I just don't think there is. I think that it's unique to the beer community.
I think so. Because there's, when you're talking about businesses that are owned by the people that are working there, they're small businesses and they're diverse businesses.
Right.
So you're not going to get the metal, a metal shop, that's going to be right next to another metal shop or 2 blocks away. It's different than breweries being in the same neighborhood, like in Ballard and Seattle.
Yes, but I mean, if you look at, I'm trying to, a retail store, clothing store or something.
Those are owned by corporations.
Some of them are. If you go to a small clothing store,
very few that are locally owned, unless it's a used clothing store. There's very few that are small businesses that are.
Oh, I agree. It's not a very big community.
So you're not going to find another one within 10 blocks.
Oh, that's true.
And what are they going to loan you? Some hangers?
I know. It's you're right. It's unique because they are a unique industry.
Yeah. One last comment here. Greg said, in my opinion, they are no different than Ballast Point or Lagunitas, who sold to larger companies. At least BP and Lagunitas were upfront about their intentions, and they're not pretending to be something they're not.
Yeah, that was an interesting comment for sure.
Yeah. All right, and the last story we've got this week is brings us to AB InBev again. Last week, they're one of their subsidiaries, ZX Ventures, which stands for Zythology, the study of beer, and the X stands for experience. It was formed last year in February.
Experience, spelled with an E.
Yeah. It was formed last year in February with the goal of investing into higher-end and non-traditional areas of the beer category. Well, ZX Ventures confirmed it acquired Minnesota-based Northern Brewer Homebrew Supply and its sister company, Midwest Supplies. They operate brick-and-mortar stores and run a robust e-commerce business selling ingredients and equipment to homebrewers. So it sounds like, should be a good deal. But the founder of Northern Brewery, he founded it in 1993, wrote on the company's website that nothing will fundamentally change and their leadership team will remain intact and the company will blah, 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 blah. Decision to sell was made to further their growth, which is what everybody says. I mean, it's about growth. We talked about this.
This is what bothers me.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago.
The company will remain to be independent.
But it's not. It's part of this ZX Ventures.
It's not independent. The fact that it's been bought out by AB InBev, I mean, not really AB InBev, but yes, AB InBev, takes away your independence.
Yes, in some ways it will, because you have to report to these people and you have to make a profit, and they're going to expect certain things. Anytime you have a company, I've worked for bigger companies, there are certain sales goals that are going to have to be met.
Yep.
There's going to be certain growth that they're going to expect. They're going to
and when they're not met?
Yeah, they're going to expect, 8% growth or whatever from their e-commerce. They're going to expect, 10% growth in the store, yep. And you figure out how to do it, and that's what's going to be. It's not like, okay, let's just let this grow organically, because they're going to want to see return on their investment.
Absolutely.
So,
that bothered me. We'll continue to be independent.
Well, again, it's a business. We get it.
What that really means to me, reading it, is they're going to continue to look independent.
Right. Now, in the personal biography of David Kidd, who was previously CEO of Midwest Supplies and oversaw the merger with Northern Brewer, he said that the combined companies had revenue of $50 million. So if that's the case, these two companies probably made a few bucks for that sale.
Absolutely.
And again, yeah, sure, for this company, it's not a bad deal, because now they have access to more money and the network of ingredients and suppliers that ABI has, and they can pass some of those savings on to their customers. But will customers in the end, follow them, and will their sales increase? You know what? It's not going to say they're owned by AB InBev on their website.
Right.
It might say ZX Ventures, which who's going to know what that is?
Unless you really look into it. Exactly.
Yeah, so
it's tricky.
Yeah. So anyhow, again, they are continuing to encroach on all aspects, from distribution to homebrew supplies to e-commerce. And last year they had purchased, or earlier this year they had purchased another company in the UK. So obviously they are working all angles there to try and recoup, from their dwindling sales of their crappy beer. And when you've got the money, that's what you can do.
Yeah.
And that, my friends, is this week's Brew News and Views with us.
Welcome back to Northwest Brew Talk. If you want to submit news to Northwest Brew Talk, send us an email to nwbrewtalk@gmail.com. If you've not yet subscribed to our podcast, why not do it now? It's free, available anywhere you listen to podcasts, including iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and Google Play Music.
On this week's Micro Homebrew interview, we're talking to Ryan Brookhart from No-Li Brewhouse. All right, we're here with Ryan from No-Li Brewhouse in Spokane. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. So, are you the head brewer?
Yes, I am. Just recently. It's been, I think, 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, really? Well, congratulations there.
Yeah, thank you.
So, how did that come about? How did you get started in the brewing business?
I guess it started with an interest in craft beer. So that was like 21, 22. I was drinking a lot of mass-produced lagers, and would see these other beers on the shelf and go, "What are these? Do they taste better?" So I'd buy ones here and there, and you find one that you like, and you find one that's not so good or whatever. And I guess that's really how it started. And then I started home brewing. Did that for a couple years, and then I was like, I really enjoy this. Can I make a career out of it?
Yeah.
Did some research on what kind of education was available, and found a program at Central Washington University. So I looked into that. What do I have to do to get in? And I needed some chemistry and some other things to make sure I was up to par, and got accepted and did that. That's just a 1-year program. Now it's a 4-year degree.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think they still offer the 1-year certificate.
Yeah.
But just 1 year when I did it. So I went through that, and then I put out a few resumes to some breweries around most of the Northwest. Got a couple responses, and ran out of money, so I had to come home. So I came back to Spokane and just kind of blanketed the city with some resumes, and a couple people called, but No-Li was a company that I knew from a long time ago and liked their beers, and said that's where I want to work, so if I can work there, that'd be the ideal place.
Yeah.
So just happened that they were hiring, and actually got in on the packaging. So I started doing that, and then the brewer that was here ended up leaving, like, I think 6 months later after I started. And I had education, and they were like, do you want to start brewing? And I was like, I think I'd be stupid not to. So I was a little nervous about it, but yeah, I knew I'd regret if I didn't. So
Yeah, definitely.
So I got on brewing and did that for about a year, and then our head brewer at the time, just recently left. He went to Arizona. So there's another position above me open, and it's like, well, you're the most qualified person, and it doesn't really make sense to hire outside the company. Sometimes it does.
Sure.
But we needed somebody right away, and apparently I'd kind of proved myself as a decent employee.
That's always good.
Yeah, it works well for me.
Yeah.
So, really just timing
Yeah.
was a big factor. But, not saying no and having the education and sort of confidence to even step into a position like that. So, yeah.
So was the education a big help then?
I think it was.
Yeah.
You can learn so much from reading and the internet. But for me, I think having that sort of formal classroom setting really helped push me to study more or learn things faster or more depth. So for me, it was a big help. And, now we actually require that if you want to brew here, you have to have some kind of education, whether it's a school or on-the-job training. So, yeah, it's very important.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. There's 320 or so breweries in the state, and a lot of them are home brewers. But the ones that get bigger, they're not always looking for a home brewer to step in. They want somebody that has experience, especially if they're growing. They need somebody that's ready to take that next step.
Yeah.
So when you first started, you were just brewing the regular stuff just to keep things moving along, right?
Yeah, it's very much a production brewing facility.
Yeah.
We have the beers we have all the time, and occasionally we'll do something kind of funky like our refresh, or we have our seasonals like Comrade IPA. Generally the process is the same for all of them. With something like the refresh, we do a kettle sour. It's a little more in depth, and I haven't led any of those brews, but I've helped out. And but yeah, the difference between home brewing and commercial brewing, the steps are very similar, but it is different. It's very much a job. You can't take a break and go have a beer or take a nap or it's still
cook on the grill. Exactly. Yeah.
And really you shouldn't be drinking while you're doing it.
Yeah, because it is a job.
It is a job,
and you've got all these measurements and everything that you're trying to make sure that everything's correct.
Yeah, and you have to be as consistent as you can be, because people want that. When they open a bottle of Born and Raised, they want it to be Born and Raised, not something that has Born and Raised label on it.
Exactly.
Right.
So we have to do our best to make a consistent product. For our customers.
Right.
Yeah.
So as head brewer now, what does that entail that you weren't doing before?
I'm working more closely with the other people around the brewery, so the filtration and the packaging, and I have more control or oversight as to what happens and making steps to change or improve quality or, cut down time, wasted time and things like that. So I'm actually doing a lot less brewing, but I do things to sort of facilitate other people's jobs. So it's actually been kind of nice.
Yeah. That's at this point. You've only been doing it a few weeks. I know. We've talked to a lot of people, especially people that have started breweries. They're like, I do paperwork all the time, and I don't brew anymore.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a lot of sitting in front of a computer and ordering parts and researching and talking with our operations manager about what's possible and
right.
Does this work? Can we filter and package on this day? And it's like, no, we need another day in between. And so, I mean, I think in probably a week or two I'll be itching to do a little brewing. But for me, I think I'll be excited to get back to more of a homebrew scale. We have kind of a pilot system. It's sort of a homebrew system we brought in and do a few test batches on that. And
okay.
I think the creativity was really the exciting part.
Yeah. Home brewing.
Yeah. And you get some of that on a production level, but not as much. Yeah, you can't just throw some random hops in.
Exactly. Yeah, the cost and the waste is hard to.
There's so much at stake. I mean, a batch of beer can cost $5,000 easily, and you can't afford to just throw that down the drain. I mean, especially when you look at retail costs for that beer, it could be $10,000 or $15,000.
Yeah.
Just the man hours alone, and it's you can't dump beer down the drain regularly,
right,
and make money.
Exactly.
Which should seem obvious, but so on a homebrew system, if you mess up or it doesn't taste good, there's not as much at stake. So I think I'm looking forward to the creativity aspect.
Yeah. So is that something you're going to start working up some new recipes for future projects?
I actually just did our new seasonal,
okay,
the Red, White, and No-Li. That's going to be coming out here in a couple weeks.
Okay.
That was fun. I had some freedom to work with specialty malts, and we had overcontracted a bunch of hops, and it's like, well, can we use that? Yeah, you put as much as you want in there. I was like, all right, I'm going to.
Yeah.
So, that's exciting. It's fun to do a recipe and then see it full scale and taste it and have it be at least pretty good. And I'm really excited for the new one. It's basically a Citra bomb. I mean, we have a lot of Citra hops going into it, and it's fun to see something that you made being put on a shelf.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to brew it, and that's exciting too, but to actually I made that recipe, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
You walk into a store and it's like, there it is. So, it's fun.
Yeah, it is. No, I understand completely writing, because I've written a bunch of books, and you walk into a bookstore and say, hey, that's my book. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I get that completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so, what is the thing that you really liked about getting into the brewing business and the brewing part of it?
For me, it was doing something that I wanted to do, not that I had to do. I felt there was this connection with home brewing that, you're making something, it's sort of mystical almost. You're adding these things that shouldn't make something that tastes this good. And, and you get a little buzz in the process, and it's kind of cool. I remember the first beer I made, and it's just an extract kick, but you drink it, and then it's like, holy crap, that's not that bad, and I got a little buzz from it.
Yeah.
But I think it was the creating part of it that really was exciting. To be a part of something that you felt like matters a little bit more it's easy to get a corporate job where you kind of just feel like you're a cog in the system and you don't have that much creative outlet, or you don't feel like you're really accomplishing that much. And that's not to put down people like that. I mean, we need people like that. But, I was in a position at the time where I didn't have a lot of responsibility, so I could seek that out. Mm-hmm. And that was really nice because I didn't feel like I was, stuck at the time. Mm-hmm. So to come to a big brewery and sort of do that on a day-to-day level was very appealing. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed beer for several years, and to do that as a job just seemed pretty cool. So, yeah,
definitely. So what about No-Li was appealing to you? Because you said you wanted to work here.
I think part of it was recognition. Mm-hmm. It used to be Northern Lights, and then they had to change their name. Mm-hmm. And it was just that sort of hometown pride thing. I grew up here in Spokane, was raised here, pretty much lived my entire life here. I got away for a little bit to go to school, but and I think it was the hometown pride kind of thing. Yeah. And, there's some recognition with the brand, and I could tell people in Seattle, I work at No-Li, they wouldn't be like, who?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I think some of that happens just because it's the West Side and there's so many great breweries, and it's hard for the East Side to get some recognition, but we're over there a little bit, and people know.
Oh, yeah.
So, and honestly, part of the attraction was also being a bigger brewery. They're probably a little more stable, and he had some regular hours. And,
right.
And that was also appealing.
Sure.
Steady paycheck.
Yeah, well, that's always a good thing. But I mean, not even doing the show, but I mean, you're in the supermarkets over there. So in Western Washington, you are there, and quite a few. You have more than one type there too. So I mean, maybe to other brewers who maybe are just focused on in their area, they might not pay attention. We do. We pay attention. We try to pay attention to all 300 some breweries, and every time another one opens, it's like, holy cow, there's another one.
Yeah.
But I mean, working for a big brewery, what do you think about that with all these breweries? I mean, literally in the past month, there's been I think 4 or 5 that open in Western Washington alone.
I mean, there's definitely a balance between working in your neighborhood pub and working for a big brewery like, say, Allegiant or something. There's a balance for me between, I guess, maintaining that sort of mysticism around brewing and that corporate sort of structure.
Right.
I mean, I haven't actually toured Allegiant or anything like that. I think they're all somewhat similar, that they're pretty laid back and they try to make it a good place to work.
Sure.
But for me, personally, somewhere in that range, I feel like something gets lost, which is kind of weird to say for working for No-Li, because we're really trying to get to move towards that direction, move to a bigger brewery. So hopefully that will change my viewpoint a little bit, but I feel like somewhere in there, something gets lost, and I can't pinpoint what it is. I've toured parts of Oregon where there's a lot of little craft breweries, and I think maybe it's the experience and going there and the surrounding area and the mountains, and it's so gorgeous, and a lot of times the beer's not filtered. Not that unfiltered beer is bad, it's just, I don't know, something about that feel that I got sort of from home brewing. Those early feelings of, it's so mystical.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question, but
no, that was a good answer. I don't know if it answered it either, but I liked. No, that's good. So, you guys brew quite a few. You have a handful that are regulars, or more than that?
A lot of ours are regulars. I think we have 1 or 2 that one of them's a seasonal that changes, I think, 3 times a year. And then right now we have a refresh, which was just a one-time thing. Just to do something different, get another tap handle on here at the pub, and show people that we can do something a little different. And it's fun for them too, because then they're not doing the same thing every time. And a lot of people want the same thing, but there's a handful of customers that like coming in and going, "Oh, you have something new? I'll try that."
Yeah.
I think. I should have prepared, but I think we have 16 taps, and I think 13 or 14 of those are regular.
Okay.
So we have quite a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People come in looking for the same, but as a bigger brewery, do you think it's a little harder to keep innovating, or do you think it's easier?
That's a good question.
I just thought of it.
Yeah. Well done. As a bigger brewery, you probably have more money.
Right.
So if you have to dump, even though you're making more in one batch, I think there's enough recognition around your brand that if you do one that's kind of weird or not that good or whatever, you're not going to kill your brand. And for a smaller company, someone who maybe has never had it and they pick it up and go, "Oh, what's this brewing company? It's, I've never heard of it. I want to get it here." And if it's too innovative or too off the wall, then it might kill it for that person, and they might never try it again, which is unfortunate, but so many choices. You have to stand out, but it has to be in a good way.
Right.
So for a company like, say, New Belgium or something, I think they can get away with doing something a little funky, a little weird, or even rogue with their Voodoo series. I remember seeing the maple bacon Voodoo Donuts one and going,
Yeah.
Really? I mean, great packaging, bright pink bottle. I mean, even at $13, whatever it was, I was totally willing to buy it. Even though I'd heard a lot of not so great things. It's just like, I want to try it for myself. And I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
But, they have such a large distribution network, and they have so many regular beers that a lot of people like.
Right.
They can get away with it.
Right. So even if that wasn't great, you wouldn't have, you yourself wouldn't have just thrown them away. Because there's okay, well, I know the other stuff is good, so this was just a one-off or something. But it's interesting. So, what kind of beers did you like to brew when you were home brewing?
Initially, the easy ones.
Okay, that makes sense.
But, I mean, the process is pretty similar for everything, unless you're going towards sours or something, or lagering. So for me, it was a way to brew new beers that I really never had, even though I'm taking a bit of a chance. And if I'd never had a certain style, now I have 5 gallons of it. So I'm either going to like it and it's going to go fast, or it's not, and I'm going to have to dump it or just suffer through it.
Right. Suffer through it,
yeah. But, I don't think there was anything that I didn't like brewing.
Okay.
It was exciting to see different styles and taste profiles, and some beers are maltier or some beers are hoppier, and kind of how that works. I mean, IPA is easy to say. For me, I like IPAs. I don't, solely drink IPAs, but they are really good most of the time. There's some bad ones, but a lot of styles also get kind of thrown under the rug and forgotten about.
Right.
Ambers and porters. Tends to be the bigger, bolder beers that get a lot of popularity. But they're still fun to try. And, and eventually it turned into, okay, I've got the basics down. What can I do now to make something a little unusual or fun or whatever. So,
yeah, that's something that we still doing the show. We'll try a beer, and it's like, wow, there's this flavor, and then all of a sudden this flavor, and then, oh, wait a second, now we got this malt sitting on our tongue here, and it's just, sometimes we're just amazed how the stuff just keeps rolling sometimes, and it's so fascinating to be able to do that, and being able to create it has to be even, like you say, the whole mysticism of it all. Just it's water and a bunch of stuff you mix together, and all of a sudden you've got this magic.
Right. I mean, it's water, grain, a flour, essentially hops, and this little fungus called yeast.
Yeah.
And you put it together, and after about a week, it stops fermenting, and then you taste it. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Each one by itself isn't that good. I mean, water obviously is pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. It's better with flavor in it.
Yeah. But, the barley tastes good, but you're not going to have a bowl of it in the morning or something. And hops are quite unpleasant by themselves. They smell amazing, but you put them all together and it just changes everything. And it's that chemistry aspect as well. It's just fun to see things like that come together and make something really tasty. Yeah.
So we're drinking Big Juicy IPA here.
Yeah.
Is this a new beer?
Relatively new. It came out in the last few months.
Okay.
So it's the other beer that we can.
Okay.
We have our born and raised in the can, and then we can this and then have drafted a few select accounts.
Okay.
And mostly in the pub bill.
Okay. And the other stuff that you do package is bottled.
Yeah.
Right?
We have Bombers in 12-ounce bottles, 12-ounce cans.
So why is that difference there?
Well, some people, different needs for different situations. Cans are a better package than glass, but there's people who like the feel of glass, and I do too. But a can, from a business standpoint, kind of just makes more sense.
Sure.
Protects the beer a lot better, and it goes places that glass can't go.
Right.
It's easier to take a can hiking or to the beach, where you can't have glass because if you drop it, someone's going to get stitches or something.
Yep. So that would like Rise and Grind, would that be as good in a can?
Yeah, I don't think it would negatively affect it. Yeah, but I also try to not ever drink it out of the package.
Yeah.
Because you lose so much.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that, then
an IPA is a good one out of can then. Or a pale ale.
Probably not actually. Because you're the part of the experience is smelling it.
Yeah, definitely.
Your tongue's only so sensitive, and if you're just drinking out of a can, your nose is against the metal of the lid, and you'll lose some of it. But if you can, pour it into a glass.
Yeah, but exactly. But if you're hiking after a hike, a beer is going to be good regardless of whether you can just smell it really well or not.
It's pretty good no matter what. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, what do you guys have? Well, first of all, how many barrels are you guys doing now?
We are on track to do, I think, close to 12,000 barrels, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Certainly for someone our size, and really just for the fact that a lot of craft breweries are kind of in the red. Business hasn't been that good for them, and I don't know if it's because we're making good beer or because people like the label or whatever it is, but we're actually doing pretty well, and it's really great to see and be a part of.
One of the things I've noticed, a few of the Eastern Washington breweries seem to be a little more. They have a little more fun with the beer names and the beer product, like Iron Horse and stuff like that. And you guys too, your packaging and stuff, and you seem to try and do things just a little more. It's not so serious and stuff like that.
So you're saying we do things a little less conservative? Sort of?
I think actually sometimes it seems that way, yeah.
Yeah, a name like Big Juicy is kind of... We have a lot of fun with it here.
Yeah.
We call a lot of our beers by the shorthand, And then, of course, shorthand for Big Juicy is BJ. So we have fun with the names. Like, at the festival we had Orange Creamsicle Big Juicy, and it was called the Creamy BJ. Come on.
Okay. Can you get better than that in the beer world?
Well, maybe.
Probably. But
Cherry Peach BJ coming out here pretty soon.
Oh, nice.
It gets offensive pretty fast.
Yeah. But
on the whole, we try to keep it family friendly, I'd say.
Well, sure.
We have a family friendly pub, and we don't want to alienate anybody or offend anybody. So.
Right.
But also the customer thinks looking for something that's kind of different, not just serious IPA. No, because the craft beer market is 21 to 34 or 35. So it doesn't necessarily appeal to your dad. Something more classic like Budweiser is.
Well, yeah.
It will always have that iconic status, but
One thing that we found that's interesting is talking of like big mega beer there. In the past, in the taverns, a lot of times taverns were darker. You got the bar, and people would go in and they'd order, a Coors Light, a Bud Light, whatever, a Bud, whatever, and that's it. And there really wasn't a thought. It's always the same beer. But when you go to, tap room or a brew pub, people of all ages are coming in and they're actually looking at what you have, and they're like studying it. And I know I saw it at one place, there were a couple older ladies looking at it, and they were looking at the IBUs and everything, and the ABV, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like probably 5 years ago they wouldn't have been doing that.
Yeah.
But people know that there's like so much more that's in beer now, and it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's really great that people are doing that. One thing I would like to have a bigger hand in is sort of education and getting the word out to people. One thing I always thought was really exciting was my stepbrother or whatever would be like, oh, I'm a Bud Light guy, and it's like, try this. And he'd either like it or he wouldn't, but, I'd keep trying, and then he'd find something, and then he drinks that. And, you're kind of pulling people away from the dark side, so to speak. And that was really fun for me as well.
So you're talking about your home beer that you'd have him try, or other beers?
Just my home beer, but, commercial beers as well. That was probably better, because then he could go buy it on a regular basis.
Sure.
But it's great that people are becoming more focused on craft beer and learning more about it. It's great for me because I'm in the industry, and I like to see that. I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. I do it all the time. I have a reason. It's age, but
I'm getting there. I can't use that excuse yet. Soon.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It's great, and we've talked to a lot of people too. It's like a lot of times with smaller breweries too. It's like regular customers are always looking for something new, but it's great. Like what would you guys try to attract like a dark side drinker to of your beers?
Yeah, typically we're not going to give them Imperial Stout and say...
Yeah, that might turn them off.
Yeah, try this. Ones that, if somebody comes in and says, do you have Bud Light, or what's similar to Bud Light? We have our Swiss Hitter Golden Ale, which is just kind of a lighter body blonde, American blonde, or our Amber Ale, which is light even for an amber. It's got that amber color, but real light body, low alcohol, very approachable, not really offensive in any way. And that seems to be the one that a lot of people who don't necessarily like craft beer can kind of get on board with, and like, oh yeah, I like that. It's a different color, but it's similar. So, I think it's important for breweries to have beers like that. because it's easy to just make beers for the more hardcore people, where super bitter IPAs or stouts that are like motor oil and all those kind of
or even the rise and grind, which is something that not everybody would like to try.
Right? Coffee stout. I mean, just sort of the name alone can throw people off.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, I don't know if I'd like that.
Yeah, it is a good beer.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
And that's coming from somebody who does not like stouts.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm more of an IPA guy, but we try everything on our show, from whatever it is. But Michelle likes everything, any color, flavor.
Yeah.
She pretty much likes everything. But it's very cool to see Wrecking Ball 9.5. 9.5. That one's pretty high.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's not one you would give to somebody that's a bud drinker.
Generally not. Unless we're playing a break on it or something.
Yeah. But so now I see a bunch of barrels around. You guys have a barrel program?
We do. It doesn't take the forefront that a lot of breweries have. That's just sort of one other thing that we offer. We want to put more of a focus on it in the future. Our biggest problem is we just don't have space. We're pretty cramped where we're at. Barrel-aged beers are, fantastic. The customers are very excited to see them and come in and taste them. And we have our yearly release of a barrel-aged beer. It's blended with some other things, and we'll wax tip the bottle and sign it. And it's kind of fun because, the signatures of the people that work at the brewery are now on the shelf, and gives a little more connection. We have barrels, but it doesn't take the forefront that it probably deserves.
Yeah. So you're talking about that, waxed and everything. What do you think about that? Like the whole trading and people buying all these bottles, like when they're limited releases and stuff. What's your opinion on all that?
I think the limited release stuff is a great way for the customer to get something that is only available that one time. Each barrel is kind of unique, so any beer that goes into it is going to come out as something different than another barrel right next to it. So, something like that, it's fun because you get to enjoy it while you have it, and it looks nice on a shelf or in your fridge. I'm really not opposed to that sort of aspect at all. I mean, that's kind of what craft beer is about for me. It's, maybe you can only get it that one time, and that's exciting. So anytime I see something like that, I try to buy it when I can. Yeah. So
cool. All right. Well, Ryan, thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Like got a nice place here, and I know it's not yours, but someday.
Watch out, John.
But it's great to talk to you. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We'd like to thank Ryan from No-Li Brewhouse in Spokane for joining us today.
If you are a homebrewer looking for a great shop to buy your homebrew ingredients and equipment, why don't you check out Micro Homebrew in Kenmore? Tony and his staff are always happy to help a new or experienced homebrewer find what they need. At Micro Homebrew, they're proud to carry over 100 hop varieties. Visit them today at 17511 68th Avenue Northeast in Kenmore, or find them on Facebook at Micro Homebrew. When you stop in, make sure you tell them that you heard about them on Northwest Brew Talk.
All right, we'll be right back after a music break from Great Spiders.
Don't get struck down.
That was Don't Get Drugged Out Little Angel from Great Spiders. You can check them out at greatspiders.bandcamp.com. If you want to have your music played on Northwest Brew Talk, contact us today.
All right, we're going to drink another beer. Michelle, what do we have now?
We get to thank Loowit Brewing in Vancouver for this beer tonight. They are family friendly and a taproom only, so you'll have to bring some outside food in if you'd like to eat. We are drinking their 216 Red Ale, a pleasant, easy-drinking red ale named for the Forest Service's trail designation for the Loowit Trail that circles the base of Loowit, Mount St. Helens. 5% ABV, 23 IBUs, and an untapped rating of 3.5.
All right, this one is a little more red, and it's a lot more clear. Nice head on it.
Oh, definitely clearer.
Nice aroma. A little different flavor than the other one. I know the other one was a red Scottish style ale. This was not a red style ale. This one is just a plain old red ale.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Actually seems like it's got some flavor, but it has the same back end. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely that copper blood that we're drinking. And but it is definitely an easy drinking beer.
Definitely, yep.
And something like this would, this
not real bitter, not.
It would be good for somebody that might be a big beer drinker. You know, that drinks some.
Yeah, I think anytime it's not real hoppy, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And this has just a little, just enough flavor that somebody could try it and, you know, not be too offended, because if they're used to drinking something that has no flavor, this kind of beer would give them some flavor, but bring them into the craft beer.
Yeah, definitely. I'll give it a thumbs up.
That's good. Thanks. That's a thumbs up for me, too. All right. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Northwest Brew Talk.
Make sure to tune in next week when we chat with At Large Brewing.
All right. That was a good interview, too. Oh, At Large. Can't wait for that next week.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank our sponsor, Micro Homebrew. The show is written and produced by Michelle Rizzo and myself.
If you want to contact us, you can email us at nwbrewtalk@gmail.com or find us on Twitter at nwbrewtalk. Our theme music is from Gilbert Neal. Make sure to check him out at gilbertneal.com.
All right. We'd like to thank everybody for listening to us. And until next time, I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Michelle Rizzo.
Stay hoppy, my friends.